Hello and welcome to What the Lux with me, Fred Moore.
And me, Anand Sharma.
Together we lead Matterform, a design consultancy specialising in brand, digital experience and content. And this is a podcast that calls time on tired ideas of luxury.
Alongside industry luminaries and thought leaders, we explore what truly defines category-leading products and services.
Today's guest has charted a course that most in the travel industry would have thought impossible. Francesco Gall is the founder and CEO of Aqua Expeditions. The company has pioneered luxury small ship river cruising on the Amazon back in 2007 and has since expanded to the Mekong, Indonesia, the Galapagos, and soon the Arctic and East Africa, and probably more. Italian-American by background, raised across 16 countries, Francesco has turned a life of global movement into a business that serves what he calls the affluent explorer. Travellers who seek intimacy, adventure, and the highest level of service in some of the world's most fragile and remote ecosystems. With a fleet renowned for design, gastronomy, and a near one-to-one guest-to-staff ratio, Aqua has become a case study in how to build a family-led, detail-obsessed brand that also partners with some of the biggest players in the luxury world. Francesco, it's a privilege to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here.
It's an absolute delight. It's a phenomenal topic, one we love at Matterform. I've got to ask an introductory question, which I think might explain how you started Aqua. So you grew up across these 16 countries. How did that nomadic childhood shape your vision for creating Aqua, creating these homes on a home on water?
It's a very good question, and one that I never thought that I'd have to actually look back at and see if that actual upbringing had shaped what has now become kind of my calling and a family business that now encompasses 400 staff. I guess growing up just allowed me to just have this innate interest in exploration. I think moving around every 3 years with my brothers, my older brother, my younger brother, allowed us to be able to adapt quickly to new spaces, to new environments, and make sure that we get outside our comfort zone and kind of test new things, whatever it is, experiences, getting to move to Germany and being put in a public German school and being told, go learn the language within 6 months and make new friends. And so that kind of, I guess, looking back, shaped today what is a lifestyle that moves us around 12 months a year, and then this sort of spirit of adventure.
This is a family enterprise, Aqua Expeditions. I've said this before, I would never work with my father. But I might work with my brother, but it's a tricky thing working with your family. But did that happen organically, or was that by design?
It happened, and I actually struggled many times to actually accept the fact that we were led or going to be a family business. Obviously, from the get-go, it was a concept that I had that I wanted to bring to life. And when I did, the first person I approached wasn't actually my father, it was my father-in-law. And so Fred Brown, who's my wife's father, who passed away last year, was my founding partner and instrumental even in my professional development as to kind of build this business. He brought the finance background, the real strong sense of strength in the financial aspect of the business, and to make sure that the business case had solid foundations that could be stress tested. And whilst we built that, and I had the concept of the actual business acumen of building and launching this business, it developed to be a father-in-law, son-in-law business, which is also even more rare than a father-son business. And then from there stemmed, obviously, the support of an incredible wife of 32 years now, Birgit, who obviously has an incredible impact on the business today, from the design direction of everything that is our business today, and now the next generation, which we've brought into the business. So it has been an incredible opportunity, one that I would never change, and blessed to be able to tell the story,
Yes. And can you just, I suppose the obvious one, can you just tell the audience what is Aqua Expeditions? And back then, what was the opportunity you spotted and why?
Yeah, well, you did an incredible intro, so thank you for that. I'll be hopefully using that in the future. But it started as an idea with an experience that I had in the Galapagos Islands. And I think that in the space that we're all in, this experiential travel space, there's few iconic destinations that really kind of just get you excited. And the Galapagos is one of those. It's these conservation icon destinations that are known the world over for the natural beauty and the sense of the spirit of adventure that is in its DNA. And I cut my teeth into expedition cruising in the Galapagos, working for a separate company that owned and operated business there. And then today, I look back and I think, okay, that was a stepping stone to expedition cruising. I then decided to venture to the Peruvian Amazon, and today we have a fleet of 6 small ships operating in biodiversity hotspots around the world between Komodo, Raja Ampat, the Mekong River, the Amazon River in Peru, and as you mentioned, soon East Africa, Seychelles, Aldabra, and the Arctic and the frozen world up north. And so it just made sense as we organically grew this. I've always had a mental map of what I wanted to develop, obviously based on political and geopolitical interests. Some destinations come in and out of flavor, and I have to time it right. And I've been blessed to be able to time it right, making sure that I'm close to the ground and in my ear to the ground to understand what's going on. But it's been an incredible ride, and today we continuously deliver guest experience around these places.
Yeah, and we'll get on to that. I was interested to know, back in 2007, what was the definition of an expedition cruise? And also, how innovative was it to look at a river rather than the sea?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's heard of the Amazon, right? And everybody think of the Amazon, they think of heated bugs, right? I mean, that's the common connotation that people come to mind when they think of that destination. But when I went and I started exploring new destinations in South America in 2008, having left the previous business I ran, I looked at it and I thought, okay, I went to the Peruvian Amazon. I went to a seasonally flooded forest. It's teeming with wildlife. It's kind of a Garden of Eden meets Jurassic Park. And it's these blackwater canals of inner tributaries, blackwater tributaries through the Peruvian Amazon. And I thought, wow, no one's doing this at the upscale level. People are coming to Machu Picchu. People are going to the Sacred Valley, doing Peru. Peru was booming with foreign investment from companies at the time, Orient Express and incredible local companies like Incaterra. And I thought, okay, how cool would it be to build a small ship, 12 cabin river cruiser, top end, but still maintain that authenticity and provide what really is the closest thing to an African safari experience in South America. And to do that without letting our guests sacrifice the creature comforts that they want to expect, which is that amazing, strong, hot shower, comfortable beds, world-class dining, but let them go out and have this 9 to 5 adventures. And once you combine those two, it kind of became our DNA. And we launched our first 12 cabin cruiser in 2008. And then from then, that's our history now.
How hard was it to get that first cruise going?
Very, very hard. I mean, remember, Iquitos, where we operate in, is the biggest city in the world disconnected by roads. It's the furthest inland seaport of the world. So already logistically, it's super complex. You can either fly all the equipment there or bring them by ship from Lima to Iquitos. Is Lima to Pucallpa is a 3-day drive, and then it's a 5-day downriver navigation on barges. So the steel plates, the welding, the lampshades, the mattresses, the sheets, everything had to be brought by
It's
Iquitos.
like a Werner Herzog film.
Yeah, it's like a modern day Fitzcarraldo, right? And so to do it, so I had to relocate to Iquitos for 4 or 5 days a week. I hired the Navy shipyard. The first ship actually I bought, I went to the Navy shipyard in Iquitos, and I told them, listen, I want to build a river ship. And they said, actually, before you build, let me take you around the bend of one of the tributaries. There's a guy who's selling a 45-meter hull, a steel hull, which is like an empty bathtub, right? And I went there, I negotiated, I paid him, I think it was like $90,000 to $110,000. And I bought it. I brought it. I tugged it back on a tugboat with the Navy admiral of the Peruvian Navy, who has a shipyard there. I towed it back and I said, okay, now let's use this as a base to build on top of it. And within 8 months, we had the first guests embarking, and then the rest is history. So it was extremely challenging from a logistical point of view.
Yes, and I imagine that's continued now when you're looking at new territories. I mean, the governmental logistical challenges must just be enormous.
Yeah, and the financial as well, because we're able to attract the foreign investors or investors of any kind. The first ship we had to self-finance myself and my family with my father-in-law. And then obviously, the banks never lend you money when you really need it. It's when you don't need it, they lend you money. But at the time, we were new. Luxury river cruising the Peruvian Amazon was not something that provided a huge amount of comfort to the institutions.
And who was doing something similar at the time?
So we weren't the first ones to be doing river cruising in general. There's a lot of backpacker ships that have been doing the Leticia Tabatinga, that kind of Brazilian, Colombian Amazon on these, banana boats with hammocks and backpackers. And a lot of times we have to give credit to our backpacker friends, and I've been one for a year when I did around the world, that they open up these destinations to many of us as entrepreneurs and then come in and elevate the guest experience to a different level. So I've traveled around the world with my Lonely Planet as well for a year and with my wife, and did around the world trip with her. But there were other businesses, but no one that kind of curated something that was authentic with a sense of place, world-class dining, contemporary modern design, and with something that's just unique and exploring deeper hearts of the Amazon, but coming back to an all-sweet ship.
Yes, and with these ships are small, and this industry on the whole, chases scale. What's beautiful about being small? Now we know the guest experience on board, of course, but from a business perspective, does it work for you?
On one hand, yes, we'll never go above 40 guests. That's kind of our DNA. I think there's an advantage, obviously, there that it keeps the bigger players at bay. And so, on the other hand, with the bigger players coming and thinking, you know what, it's too small and too much of a headache and too logistically complex for us to actually build something big. And that's one. Geographically, the river ships need to have, my ships have a 5-foot draft. We can't have deep drafts to go up the upper Amazon in order to explore these blackwater tributaries and these seasonally flooded forests with a big ship with a big draft. So the big ships that do go to the Amazon, they stick to the Brazilian side of the Amazon, which is an inland sea. I mean, there's an island the size of Switzerland between at the mouth of the river, the Amazon. It's a massive. It's 300 kilometers wide, the width of the Amazon at the Brazilian side. But when you get up to the Peruvian Amazon, you're talking 5 to 6 to 800 meters wide, the whole breadth of the Amazon, and then you can get really up there. So we need 5-foot draft to operate all year, and that keeps the competition at bay as far as the bigger players. And we can just get so much more intimate. We can build relationships with the communities. We can get small groups into 4 to 5 couples per speedboat into the Blackwater lagoons, or the same in Raja Ampat, or the same in the Mekong. So I think we found our niche, and we're very happy where we're in it.
Yeah, and I think implicitly also says something about you and your family, which is it's not that you lack ambition, you're not growing, which we'll find out about, but it's like, this is enough. I don't need to be 20
Yeah,
ships or.
and I think there's incredible companies that are building great fleets, but true to form, we've been delivering one ship every 3 years, and that's about as much as I can bite off. We can't scout the destinations, design the ships, or build or buy and retrofit, market them, operate them. We can't do that without losing that high touch capability if we did it faster. And so I think our guests and our loyal guests like the fact that every ship is different, that everything is kind of a new project for us, and that keeps it exciting for us as well.
Yeah, and so the obvious point, of course, is that you can micro control the design, the guest experience, the food. So who's inputting into that's your wife, it's you, it's the team.
It's a collaborative effort. Obviously, I would hate to, tag myself as a micromanager. I obviously empower and have an incredible team, but yes, we're in the business of details. Our guests are expecting the details. They can recognize in 2 seconds if someone's curated something genuine and put that book there, that artwork there, that piece of decor there in the cabins. Everything specifically been sourced or designed or purchased to be placed in a location on our ships. And I think people appreciate that. We want them to feel like they're embarking on a private yacht or a boutique hotel at the end of the day, and that element of comfort can only come if we don't lose that high touch. And so today, yes, my wife is involved, just like I am, just like in some cases our interior designers, that we have some external consultants that work with us almost full time, basically for us. We curate the dining experience, the decor, and we go into the finest little details. From the plateware to the artwork to the uniforms of the crew.
Yeah. So what's the vibe on board? It's clearly intimate, and tell us about the guests.
So to give you an idea, obviously from the guests, as you mentioned before, they're affluent explorers. These are guests that have been everywhere. These are not first timers that are taking these long haul trips, but they've been to Africa. They are wanting to go to Antarctica. They've heard of the Galapagos. They're people that want to go out and be pushed a little bit outside their comfort zone, and that's when these wow moments happen. So when they're on the Mekong exploring the Tonle Sap Lake, and they say, we haven't been on a bike, we haven't ridden a bike in 10 years, but to be able to offer them a simple, nice bike ride through through backwater canals of the Amazon, of the Mekong in Cambodia or Vietnam, or through verdant rice fields in Cambodia. Once you create that opportunity for them in a safe environment, then they go out there and they come back saying, wow, that was amazing. We just had the most authentic bike ride through, Kampong Chnang, to see these pottery villages in the backwaters of Cambodia, and then be met up on our speedboats to get picked up and taken back on board for a beautiful lunch on the top deck. So it creates this kind of environment on board that all of a sudden everybody checks their egos at the door at the embarkation. There's on our yachts, there's a new shoe policy. So whilst the ships look elegant, because we do want them to look elegant and refined, life on board is very relaxed. So there isn't that traditional kind of fine dining dinner with jackets on board. People are relaxed on board. Yes, do they change and and shower and come back to a happy hour in the top deck bar and look elegant? They do, but in a complete relaxed setting. And that all of a sudden creates this ambiance of people wanting to connect. And I think that's the magic that happens beyond the experiences off the ship. Is back on board, you're with a guest demographic that is super interesting. They have stories to share. They're there. They know they booked themselves on a small ship, and so they know they're going to be social. But within 48 hours, everybody's met each other. Everybody's either had a coffee or breakfast or lunch or starting to mingle. And I think that's the magic that we want to happen on board.
And of all ages, I assume.
Getting younger and younger by the day. I think obviously that what COVID obviously has shown, and some of the positive aspects, if we want to put a positive spin on all that, is the fact that people are not waiting for these incredible trips anymore. They're not going to wait until they're 55, 60, 65, and 70 and retire. They want those trips now. So those these bucket list destinations have all of a sudden moved up 10 notches, and people are saying, I'm going now with my 7 and 8-year-old to the Galapagos. I'm not waiting till they're 15. And then I'm going to go and take them, to Raja Amparo to see the Komodo dragon. And I'm going to do this now and enjoy my life now rather than wait and then see if it can or cannot happen later. And I think all of a sudden we're seeing honeymooners come and have these active diving, snorkeling trips with us. We're seeing multi-generational buyouts of people, 2, 3 families coming together and having grandparents, parents, and grandkids together. And that's an amazing opportunity.
I just wondered, the environment, ecology, biodiversity is clearly important to you. How do you give back? How do you help? There's obviously there's externalities to what you do. That's obvious. It's on a small scale. People will understand that. But what are the costs? But what do you give back?
Different ways of looking at it. First of all, yes, you're right. All the destinations we operate in are destinations at risk. These are fragile ecosystems that have constant external pressures at play, be it potential over tourism, be it currents bringing plastic to destinations, or just general lack of structure from legal framework of how to build a sustainable tourism practice. So those are all things that I need to look at once we decide to go in. Obviously, our size allows us to have a minimum impact on these destinations. We're disembarking 30 guests on 3 small 6.5-meter Zodiacs with a naturalist guide who's from the region, so he's locally trained, locally raised, so has a genuine intent of protecting his backyard, and he's guiding 4 to 5 couples. So very manageable from that aspect, but still, we have a role to play. And then on top of that, we have to make sure that we work within the confines of some regulations if they're there, and hopefully bring additional regulations to the place to help dictate some sort of protective mechanism for a sustainable tourism practice in the future. And then we partner with local institutions. We partner with the Manta Trust in Indonesia. We partner with the Charles Darwin Foundation in Galapagos, because at the end of the day, we have a very captive audience on board, and we can curate that conservation story in a soft way, because at the end of the day, they are on holiday, so we can't do a hard sell on anything. But we tell that narrative through the guides, through the local experts, to make sure that they fall in love with the destination, that they tell and act as ambassadors to the destination when they go back home, and that they bring us the right guest as a referral. And I think all that kind of comes together in a long-term business that is today 18 years in the making and continues to give the same guest experience. It's amazing. 32 years ago, I went to Galapagos for the first time, and that same wildlife experience I had then is still to be had today in the Galapagos. And that's quite rare today, but it's because Galapagos has an incredible, strong system in place to protect tourism and to make sure that that natural instinct of fear of the wildlife is still there, and because there's lack of predators and because of lack of kind of this human impact on them, and you can still walk around the nest of the blue-footed boobies or the albatross or the frigates and walk around, and they could be completely unimpacted by the fact that you're there, and you literally have to walk around them because they won't get out of your way. And that's rare in this world, to be able to still experience that, and that's kind of the draw.
Yeah, and if not too woo-woo a thing to say, I do hope that, guests come and they experience that, and for the rest of their life, they go back and tell people and do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many kids come back and they do the trip with us in some of these places, and they all want to come back and they want to be a park ranger and they want to be a naturalist guide because they've impacted that. A week away from school to go to some of these places to go see the Komodo dragon and swim with oceanic mantas and snorkel with whale sharks in Indonesia. That's a learning opportunity for a kid out of class, more so than a week in school. And so I think we have an opportunity to shape also conservation efforts of the younger generation to make sure that these places are there for the future.
You're in a great position as well for over the last 20 years to answer two questions, particularly on the minds of our audience and us. The first is just luxury, actually. Has your perception or definition of luxury changed, and perhaps what guests expect from 20 years ago to today?
I mean, obviously, it's a word that's stirred a lot of debate because obviously that word is in so many ways either too loosely used or too commonly used. At the end of the day, everybody makes use of it as they deem fit. In our space, I think it's just being true to what we originally envisioned as wanting to create something unique, authentic within the space and the confines that we can operate safely. And I think that luxury today is the luxury of being able to blend a bit of everything of their lifestyles, being able to bring that same lifestyle that the guest is used to having. We're talking about as far as the basic comforts, the basic connectivity aspects today, to be able to provide an opportunity for guests to disconnect, leave the daily stress aspects that impact their lives, and come back and create memorable experiences. Whatever that definition is for them, if it's the actual asset, the ship itself, it's being in nature, it's having that, sundowner in the middle of the Amazon, surrounded by the noise of the Amazon when we turn off the skiff's engines and just enjoy 2 minutes of peace. I think everybody has their own definition. For me, it's that. It's these kind of silent moments at the top of a hike that I did, I don't know, at 6 o'clock in the morning in West Papua when we're looking for the bird of paradise to start doing his mating call, and we've been up from 4 o'clock. That for me is luxury. It's being completely silent for 2 minutes as the sun is rising, waiting for that Wilson or that red bird of paradise to come and start doing that song. I think everybody will have those moments, but for me, that's still what drives that passion of innovation and overcomes the daily challenges that the business does have. But it's still worth, every effort we've put into it.
Yeah, and I suppose in connected to that, there's technology and the kind of experience that you offer. It's always a hot topic. How do you avoid technology, and how do you use technology to innovate, and how's that changed?
I mean, obviously, the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, is Wi-Fi, right? I mean, how we either embraced or embraced the capacity to stay connected. I think for us on the trips, again, going on the positive side, well, a lot of us wanted to try and stay away from trying to provide connectivity on the ships to be able to really have people disconnect. On the flip side, our average length of stay has increased. People are now saying, I can actually take a 12-day expedition on the ship and go from Seychelles to Aldabra to Zanzibar and be on the ship and be able to, not be stressed by not being connected. So I think technology, it's how you use it, how you apply it, and how you, make it best fit your purpose. In our case, technology, in the case of our operation, Starlink has changed our game because it's allowed for an operational aspect to have our connectivity for everything operations behind the scenes for our ships to be connected from technical, HR, finance aspects, procurement, purchase orders, everything. So that's been a game changer for us. From our guest perspective, like I said, it's allowed people to take these longer journeys and come and be able to mix a lot of of what I call leisure, business leisure, where people are flying to Singapore and then having their respective partners join them on the weekend and then jumping on our ship in Indonesia. So all this stuff is using technology in our best interest, but it's also allowed us to do a lot more monitoring aspects with our partners on the ground to understand what additional assistance we can give to local communities and being more in touch as they need support from us. There's different ways. On a sales and marketing aspect, AI aspect, we've innovated a lot in that space as well. But today we're still a very small, innovative, energetic team that's focused on bringing new solutions to market, both for our guests and for our operations.
Yeah. And in almost my final question, in terms of the innovation of the proposition, okay, there's obviously new ships and opening up new routes, but in your kind of in the shower when you're daydreaming, do you have any sort of more radical thoughts about where Aqua could go?
No, I think over the years we've had many opportunities to kind of divest and get into other segments. And I think, we could have looked at developing small boutique hotels in each of our destinations so that we could complement the guest offering and say, you're going to fly to Iquitos or Siem Reap or Bali, and why don't you stay in an Aqua boutique hotel? But I quickly discarded those because I'd rather stay focused, stay true to our calling, stay focused to the guest experience that we've built and we want to continue delivering. And I haven't regretted that one bit.
I've got 3 just quick personal questions, 2 of which are very unfair. But the first one is just, how long do you personally, in the last sort of 5 years, have you stayed in the same place for? What's the longest you stayed per?
Good question. So permanent home for us is Singapore. Singapore has been home for 12 years. Obviously, I'd say if I had to split my calendar, which is quite complex, there's 2 advantages. One is I have the luxury now of being able to travel with my wife because our kids are grown up and they're all out of the house. And so our 2 oldest kids are in the business. They're doing incredibly well and super proud of them. But that gives us the time to travel together, as my wife and I work together, and she is an incredible inspiration to me, but also has huge responsibilities within the business. We're able to do that. So I'd say we split our time between 4 months in Singapore, 4 months in Europe, and 4 months on the road. That's as a general rule of thumb. Now, within that, all chaos happens when I start getting to trying to plan flights. But we're active, positive, and we lead a healthy lifestyle that allows us to do this. So.
Yeah. So this is when the questions get unfair. What's your favorite country in the world?
I mean, I think everybody knows that all roads lead to Rome, and so obviously I have to be true to my heritage and say that Italy is always, it's where we have a home. It's where we love being there. I love going on holidays and family all over the world. But it's crazy how in the last few years Italy's become even more and more popular. Maybe it's living its heyday, but it's always got a reason to go back to it. But I think it's just something that I feel will always have a strong foothold as to a calling for me.
Yes. And you're a water-based person quite a lot, but what's your favorite hotel in the world?
Ooh, good question. There's incredible innovation in that space. I say that I love outdoor showers. I just love any property that I can just sit and wake up and have. There's 2 things that really I love doing. One is outdoor showers in any savannah safari camp out there. So anything that has an outdoor shower has got me hooked, or an early morning jacuzzi, an early morning hot tub. So those are my way to wake up the day. If I can have a property that does that, if it's a Japanese onsen outside Tokyo and Hakone that I love, or it's an African safari camp, and but obviously, I spent the 10 days in Susavle in Namibia. I've done several biking trips in Namibia, solo biking trips crossing basically on the border of Angola all the way to the coast of Skeleton Coast. I keep it simple. Obviously, for work, we go to all the principal cities of the world and we've stayed in all the most beautiful properties. But I think it's just that connection with that open air deck, outdoor showers, outdoor hot tubs, and it could be as simple as possible. But I think anything in sub-Saharan Africa is off the charts for me.
We do ask the same 4 questions at the end of each podcast. So I'm going to ask them to you if that's okay. The first one, I know maybe there's an obvious answer to this, but what would you most like to change about your industry? I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but
I think obviously, I think I'd like to see a lot more stronger collaboration between public-private partnerships amongst the institutions that we need to work with on the ground. I think the challenge for me, I'm not sure if that's what you expected from me, but I think the challenge for us as we build these businesses that the local governments we work with are obviously very welcoming when we come and we say we're going to put a small ship
I
expedition.
wasn't expecting this answer. No, great. Go ahead.
I think the challenge has been, it's already challenging enough to bring new investment to a country, but I think the bureaucracy involved in order to bring new investment to a country, and these countries that have these incredible destinations that need to be brought to light in the right way, I think that's the biggest challenge. I think it's understanding how to find ways to bring investment to countries, but make that road slightly smoother. And this is a shout out to, to anybody and everybody that's involved in that process, because it's a lot of loopholes to get through. I can control the shipyards, I can control the finances, I can control the interior design, the recruitment, the product development, but what I can control is the bureaucratic loopholes that are required in order to get the necessary permits to do this responsibly by abiding by all the regulations. Listen, I like structure. Trust me, the structure for me is good. I welcome it. But to have a clear path to work better with local governments to welcome foreign investment done right. I think that's for me been the biggest challenge. That's what keeps me up at night many times, is making sure that I'm going to be able to deliver on time based on a clear rules of engagement. Outside of that, in the rest of the space, I think is just our marketing dollars are small, given that we're a small business, and so we have to be very nimble and very focused on targeted tactical campaigns to make sure that we are engaging with the right audience, finding that right audience, and growing it and keeping it loyal. And we've developed some great loyalty programs, both for our trade partners and for our guests, that are being rolled out as of a month ago, that are really, really engaging and bringing those surprise and delight initiatives to our guests to really keep them loyal. Because I think building on that loyalty, there's so much distraction, there's so much noise in the marketplace today. There's a lot of greenwashing still happening regarding who's delivering what and under what pretenses. And we just need to make sure we're top of mind and top of class as well.
The second question is, what most concerns you about the world we're leaving this next generation?
I think it's just the speed of the way things are happening. I think that obviously you can probably tell that I'm kind of hyperactive. I'm super energized in what we're doing, but I do need to learn to take a step off the pedal a little bit. Obviously, I need to do it just to enjoy the pleasures of everything we've built, and I'd like to just see things slow down a little bit. I'm culprit of that. But I plow through and I apply pressure in order to get to where we need to do, but I also need to listen to the others around me and say, hey, take a step back and breathe a little bit, enjoy the fruits of the labor that we've all done. And I'm starting to do that because I have an incredible team around me, but still that drive is there. And so it's finding that right balance. And I think that's for all of us, for my kids, what messages and what teachings am I giving them of the mindset of how to run a business, of the leadership style, of all that, and the challenges that come with that, and how to find that personal professional balance. I think that's what worries me, that you're either going to go one or the other way, and we have to find that balance. And I think I found it. I just think I can do it slightly better.
Yeah. So actually, one thing that just strikes me talking to you is that the lessons to your kids or to other people you've given is that I just know that those temptations to take Aqua in other, I'm sure you've had so many offers, or to franchise it or to take it into other things, would have been very, very real. And I think there's a great bit of advice, isn't there, that you spend the first half of your life or your career chasing every opportunity, and that gives you profound happiness and opportunity. And the second half, saying no to almost everything. And what you've done with Aqua, I think, is so impressive, is kept it in that, forgive the pun, but that narrow channel, and become supreme experts in one thing. And so when you do go to East Africa, it is just magnificent. You're probably the only people who can do it like that.
I agree, and I'm happy that you see it that way. And I agree with you. I think it's been challenging to not get distracted and staying focused. But again, you always have to. I tell my kids, go with your gut, listen to your gut. Obviously, there's got to be. I have a healthy appetite for risk, but finding that balance and making sure that whatever decision I do is also stress tested on our model financially. It's not this idea. I've seen so many businesses fail with this concept of build it and they will come. It's not really that easy. This idea of, I've got a beautiful farm, or I've got a beautiful ranch in Patagonia, and I'm just going to turn my 12 rooms into a boutique hotel. Well, it takes a lot more than that to build a brand, to build a guest experience that's curated, and to make it professional. And so I've hopefully instilled upon that to my kids and to everybody that there has got to be a business acumen just as much as the inspiration that's drawing, but defining the balance between the two that obviously then attracts that investor or attracts that support, because it's a challenge out there to build a brand. And I think that's the biggest thing is over 18 years, we've built a brand. We're by no means a household brand, but at least within our space, we've got our demographic, we've got our niche, we've got our 40,000 past guests that are loyal to Aqua and traveling with us more than once a year, which is amazing. But then the pressure comes as well. It's like I got to keep delivering, and I get on board the ship, and people are like, "Okay, what next?" And yes, I've got my map. It's all planned out. I've got it up my sleeve, and I'm continue delivering a ship every 3 years. Now, will that mean that I'll double the fleet in the next 20 years? But we're not going to go from 6 ships to 50 ships ever. We'll never be that brand, and that's okay. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm happy with a few more ships and then see where the business goes. But I think we just have to be true to that. No?
Yeah. We've established you're highly hyperactive, but if you had to give up your job tomorrow and you're not allowed to do this, what would you do?
I think I'd probably take a step back from an operational role. I think that I still want that creativity. I still want that. I've now built relationship with incredible partners around the world that I don't want to lose. If I ever do decide to take a step aside or take a step back, however you want to call it. Um, but I think mentally we all need to be engaged in whatever capacity, and physically, obviously, the travel does wear on you. But as long as you find that balance of a healthy lifestyle, you can do it in a sustainable way. I see myself as maybe having a slightly stronger grounding and maybe not as much travel focus. But then again, who knows? Maybe that's just wishful thinking. So I don't know. I've been so focused on building what we have in front of us that I haven't taken the time to really sit back. I've started dabbling a little bit with my wife of what we would do. Would we go into a bit more real estate kind of residential, because we can bring some element of that with some of our guest experiences and our dining to a slightly more curated real estate development projects with luxury lifestyle living. I don't know. There's a lot of ideas out there. I want to pave a path for careers for our kids. Our oldest two are in the business. My son Massimo is obviously running point with our operations team on the new refit in Aqualares. My daughter's global head of reservations and done incredibly well for herself. They're both amazingly proud of them. My youngest daughter, Alessia, is in Tufts in university, about to graduate this year and finding her career in biotech. And so I want to make sure that they've got a clear path for the future, or at least have the same supports I had, which they're getting, and then sit back and kind of just enjoy the views in Italy.
Yeah, doesn't sound like you're stopping anytime soon.
No.
And, and to that, the very final question, this could be work or personal, but what's the most exciting thing for you in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, God, my window right now is pretty much looking at the next, 5 months. 5 years, a lot happening. Obviously, with the launch of our East Africa, with the launch of our Arctic, with a few growth plans that we have already up our sleeve and working on for the next 24 months. Obviously, I like to keep our audience kind of expecting, and so they should expect good stuff from us always. Um, I think just enjoy the benefits of what we built. I have an incredible new partnership with Ponant Explorations Group. I think it's comforting. That was a big decision for me when I went to market and actually went out to run a
Yeah, actually,
process.
can you talk about that? Sorry, I've missed that. It's a
Yeah.
huge topic.
No, no, happy to share because it is part of my future. And so when you asked 5 years, for me, 5 years is now, 8 months into a new partnership. And, over the years as a businessman, you try to ensure that you have constant access to capital. I mean, these businesses need capital to grow. We're a highly asset-heavy business. And so when I went in and out of private equity over the last 15 years successfully with great partners in small, mid-sized, larger funds, when I went to market a year ago and I said, okay, I'm going to run a professional process, hire an investment bank, went out to market, had a competitive process, and pretty much made probably the second biggest and most important decision of my life after asking my wife to marry me was who's going to be my,
Business
long-term
partner.
partner.
Yeah.
And that's a hard decision to make. But when you go back to the drawing board and you check your gut, you check the business opportunity, and you do all your soul searching, I settled on what is an incredible company. But at the end of the day, the core are they're entrepreneurial investors. The group behind Ponant is Artemis. It's a family-run business. They're entrepreneur investors, and they valued and respected and cherished what we built over the years.
And for those who don't know them, that's the family is.
The family is a Pinot family, and they are the brands and the owners behind the luxury group of Kering and incredible brands around the world in that space, from F&B to fashion and so forth, and art and everything. But within that, they've got a group, and they've invested and owned the Ponant Explorations Group, which is an incredible expedition cruise company that has the most modern fleet of, the most modern icebreaker ship out there, the Commandant Charcot. They've got an incredible reputation in that high-end space of below 200 guests. But within that, I saw that we saw eye to eye, from values to core competencies to the vision of developing this business in the future. And when we agreed to go into business together, and they became my largest shareholder. And that's been 8 months in the making, and it's been a very organic, pleasant experience, because you never know. I mean, it could have been amazingly fruitful, but I think that it has proven to be a match made in heaven. I'm super happy. I'm super happy for my team. I'm super happy for us and what the future holds. So today we're starting to see synergies, many not commonly seen to the public eye, because there's operational, technical, HR synergies that are coming to light behind the scenes, and then commercial opportunities as well that we're going to benchmark and use to guide both our visions. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what that's going to bring to the market. I think people can rest easy that Aqua is going to stay Aqua. Aqua is going to have its main identity, and Ponant will have its main identities, but you're going to see opportunities come to life for both of us, so we're going to jump on them.
Francesco, thank you so much. And what an overview of Expedition Cruises and what you've created at Aqua. And good luck to you for the next stages of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to share my story, and thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening. This has been What the Lux. You can find us on socials at Matchreform, and drop us any questions or comments on Twitter using the hashtag #WhatTheLux. Or if you're a luxury brand looking for strategy and design that goes beyond the banal, get in touch via hello@matchreform.com and chat to one of our consultants.